start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. If you just believe, 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 if you just believe.
Yo, people, welcome back to another stream. It's been a few days. I know I said before the Madrid game I was on the fence about going. Was I going to go? Was I not going to go? I went to the Bernabeu. I went out with all the City fans to Madrid. Had an absolutely fantastic time. So excuse me if my voice is a bit hoarse, a bit gone, because spent a lot of time singing City chants and drinking plenty of Spanish beer at good prices. So I had a great time. Watched the match in the stadium. What an experience that was, man. The Bernabeu is something else, man. It really is. It's different gravy. Like, I've been to most of the big grounds in Europe, and I've been to pretty well every single Premier League ground now on away trips. But the Bernabeu is, wow, different. 3-3. We take a draw back to the Etihad. We scored 3 goals. We said we would take a draw, didn't we? We said we would happily take a draw back to the Etihad. We have loads to talk about. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about Rodri and this unbeaten run. 66 games he is unbeaten, which is absolutely crazy. And people don't talk about this enough because it's mind-blowing, the levels this guy is showing on a week-to-week basis. And then the news dropped this morning that City are very interested in Jamal Musiala and bringing him to the Etihad this summer. Do City see him as a long-term Kevin De Bruyne replacement? We're going to have a chat about all that. Big up Zyrog in the chat. Big up Omega in the chat. Big up everybody locked in and joining us. Get involved in the conversations. Make sure you smash that like button, guys. That's all we ask. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Your support massively helps us here on this journey. But yeah, listen, let's start with Real Madrid. I don't know how much content any of you guys have watched about the game so far. I'm sure all the other City creators have been doing loads, but I only got back late last night, so I haven't had a chance to really chat about it and dissect it. I will preface the conversation by saying I generally analyze games a lot better when I'm watching it on TV. So there's probably a lot that you guys saw on the TV, if you watched it on TV, that I didn't see in the stadium. Now, bear in mind, the Bernabeu was, I think it was like a 90,000 capacity the other night. It was the highest capacity the Bernabeu's ever seen. Closed roof. Where was Hugh sat? The very back row. The top row of the whole stadium. So I had a bird's eye view. So I probably missed a lot of the little intricate ins and outs, but I definitely know the gist of what happened and the goals I've watched back and that kind of thing. So listen, let's get into it. Smash the likes, people. Smash the likes. Let's get into it. Joe, 3-3 in Santiago Bernabeu. Can't complain about taking a draw back to the Etihad. We scored 3, which is amazing, but we conceded 3, which is kind of summarizes our defense this season. We definitely haven't been as solid defensively this season as we were last season against Real Madrid anyway, and Bayern Munich and that. How did you feel watching that game? How do you feel bringing the draw back to the Etihad? Do you feel confident about next week? What did you make of Real Madrid? Did they create the blockbuster performance that we were low-key anticipating?
I mean, there's so much to unravel in terms of, am I happy? Am I confident? Yes. I mean, we all said before the game, take a draw. Draw's a good result at the Bernabeu. I don't think many of us expected to score 3, but we take a draw. I mean, it's not best case scenario. Of course, best case scenario is winning, but in terms of good outcomes, it basically means the game means nothing. Like, because there's no away goals. That game, for as good as it was, in the grand scheme of things, means absolutely zero. Because it's literally just now a straight 90-minute shootout between us and Madrid at home. That's the situation. It's very, very simple. The winner of that game goes through to the semi-finals. No away goals, no having to win by 2, or none of that. It's very, very simple. So it's a pretty good result in terms of the way the game went. I feel like the first half was a little bit iffy. Same thing as Palace, really. I think the first half was just a little bit, discombobulated, maybe, to use a big word. Like, it was a bit all over the place. It was very, very open in the first half, which didn't suit us. And then I feel like we get into half-time, we settle things down. We come out in the second half and we play more at a pace that suits us. and we get the rewards. We end up with a 3-3. We outscored them in the second half. It was 2-1 at half time. We end up drawing the game 3-3. That's a 2-1 second half, because the second half was much better. Again, like Palace, it was almost it wasn't a carbon copy, of course, because Crystal Palace to Real Madrid is a big gap in quality. But in terms of the way the game went, it was very similar. The first half was a little bit underwhelming, a little bit sloppy, but the second half would come out and we decide to play, good football, and we get our rewards. Now, it's not necessarily an amazing performance. We didn't cut through Real Madrid. We scored 3 absolute worldies, but we take 3 absolute worldies.
The Bernardo one, we definitely got a bit of luck. For the first goal. Listen, I just want to say there's 30 in the building, guys, and we're on 10 likes. Let's try to get up to 20 likes as soon as possible. The likes really, really help with helping new people find the channel, and your support just genuinely massively helps. But I don't know about you, but when we scored that first goal inside the first minute, I thought the first kind of 15, 20, maybe half of the game was going to be quite cagey. I thought both sides were going to try, get a feel for each other, and no one wants to concede early. And then when we get that first goal, everybody in the away end, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody in the away end, but a lot of people in the away end were like, yo, we could actually blow this lot away. Because when we got to the stadium, the Bernabeu was fucking hopping, yeah? They're playing the Madrid, all that stuff. They had a big tifo. The place was raucous, and the Madrid fans, you could sense they didn't have that usual Madrid feeling of, yeah, we're going to smoke whoever comes to the Bernabeu. We're going to absolutely batter them. Immediately with that free kick goal, the sting was taken out of the place. The place went so damp and so quiet, temporarily, of course, until Camavinga scored. But I don't know about you, but I thought when that first goal went in, there was a real... We could go and do these lot good and proper tonight.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, look, they tried pulling out all the stops, didn't they? Begged UEFA to allow them to close the roof so they can keep the noise in. There's all of that stuff, tifos, everyone wear these fancy t-shirts. Like, they were pretty scared. Which is, it's mental. It was cold, though. It was cold, but it's mental to say. Big old Real Madrid.
When I got off that tram at Santiago Bernabeu, yeah, I looked up at the place. Now, listen, chat. I've been to the Allianz Arena. I've been to the Nou Camp. I've been to Old Trafford. I've been to Anfield. I've been to Etihad. I've been everywhere you could think of that has seen success. Emirates. I've been everywhere. Chelsea. Everywhere that's seen success to some capacity. There is nothing hits you in the face like the Bernabeu. You can't actually articulate what it's like. You just have to experience it. You get this overwhelming sense of heritage and institutional football and just dominance and success and superiority. Like, you don't get it anywhere else. I mean that genuinely. Like, I've walked down fucking Sir Matt Busby Way down to Old Trafford, a club obviously that's seen a huge amount of success for generations, and you do somewhat get up there, but the Bernabeu is different, mate. It was different. So I knew walking there and going up 10, 15 flights of fucking stairs to get to my seat, we're going to have to take the sting out of this lot. Like, I was walking the entrance to the away end, and there was 2 or 3 Real Madrid fans recognized me, probably from Big Six or from YouTube. And they go, oh, YouTuber. It's been fucking half cutting the beer at this point. I was like, yeah, all right, mate, how are you? And then he starts doing all these signs at me, like chopping heads off and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, yeah, fucking 4-0. We done you last season, didn't we? Like, it was, I got a sense off them that they were properly up for it, like really, really up for it. So we had to do something early, but then typical Real Madrid fashion, Joe. Typical Real Madrid fashion. Camavinga goes and scores, makes it 1 each.
It wasn't even his goal. It was an own goal in the end. That's how big the deflection was on it. It was an own goal.
And that is an own goal.
It was a Ruben Diaz own goal because it came off him last. That was the deflection, the first one. That's. I mean, look, how bad you look in it when you're going against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu. The last thing you need is the game to be going against you like that and have something like that where the shot's not even on target and it's come off Ruben Diaz and got in the back of the net and it's 1-1, and then within a matter of like seconds it's like 2-1, because a game like that just flies by. Like, minutes don't feel like minutes. The game just zooms past you. It goes so quick. So it genuinely felt like a matter of seconds it's 2-1. And at that point, you kind of fearing the worst.
You know when it went 2-1, I was like, it must be nearly halftime. Like it must be because everything's just happening so quickly and so intense. Sorry, excuse me, I'm still recovering. I was like, it must be nearly halftime. It's 14 fucking minutes. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, like it all, the way the game was being played in terms of how open it was, the magnitude of the game, and just everything that's going on. It was such a mad game that it didn't feel like it was only 15 minutes and we'd had 3 goals. Like it felt like it should be closer to half time than that. But that's the way the game was going in the first half, and there was a danger. There was a little bit inside of me. I don't know about you, going, there's a potential if we play like we have done this season when we concede, there's a potential this game could get out of hand. You know, because 2 goals in 2 minutes, there was a potential there where another goal and you're looking at danger signs. So it was a big mentality thing that we managed to hold on to at least 2-1 at half time, because 3-1 is not disastrous, but there's a fear that the game gets out of hand.
I was worried about that. Guys, there's 50 people in the building now. You're all getting locked in. Great to see you all arriving. Big up Senti, B, Agur, Mo, Omega, and Zyrog as always. Just make sure you smash the like button. Let's try and get 50 likes as soon as possible. That's always the goal on these streams. So if everyone hits the like button, we can hit our goal as soon as possible. All of your support really helps. I want to chat about the defense because, look, we are going to talk about the Foden goal, the Vardiol goal, etc., because they absolutely deserve their praise. Phil Foden, you know, the subject of so much conversation the last couple of weeks, De Bruyne, Foden, and people making debates between the two and so on and so forth. But the defense worried me. I thought Vardiol was very good for large parts of the game. I don't know about you. I don't know, is it interlinked with Rodri? I think, at least for the first half anyway, Rodri had an almighty stinker. Just from where I was sitting and the vibe that people were kind of sharing in the away end. Obviously, if I was watching on TV, I might have got a better grasp. I think Rodri dropped an absolute stinker, giving the ball away countless times, and the defense was just getting cut open. It felt to me, from where I was looking, that Rodrigo and Vinny were just cutting us open for fun. And would that be fair in why maybe you felt it could be an onslaught if it went horribly wrong?
Well, yeah, because our best player for the last season and a half, 2 seasons, was dropping an absolute fucking disaster in the middle of the pitch. But that, you're not wrong in saying Rodri was awful. I was chatting to some of the members in the server, and they were saying the same things. Like, he was absolutely all over the place. He looks out on his ass. Like, he desperately needs a game off. Because he was just bad. He was just really bad. And, you know, there's no sugarcoating it. That's a big reason as to why we struggled in the game a lot, why we were giving up chances. There was a lot of runs in behind. I feel like there's some level of credit that goes to the defence because they did mop up a few times, but it was almost like a split-second decision, you know, that decision being a split second later away from Real Madrid being in behind a lot of times. Like, the ball over the top was on. Like, they felt like as soon as the ball got to Vinicius or Rodrigo, they were one-on-one. They were one-on-one with the defender. And that was, again, you speaking to the danger. The danger of the game getting out of hand is we were basically leaving the most dangerous 2 wide players one-on-one, you know, going forwards. On the transition as well, because we did have more of the ball. We had more possession. So it was a lot of transition-based stuff. It was a lot of 4v3, 3v3 stuff going forward from Madrid. Like, they didn't really have that much of a numbers disadvantage at times. They were always one-on-one, at worst 2v1. There was a lot of space. So there has to be some level of credit to the defence for holding out 2-1 at half-time, getting into half-time and being able to change things. But there was that threat of the game getting out of hand with the way that we were playing.
I think Craig Partytime, big up Craig Partytime in the chat, man. He says Rodri is dead. That's why he's come out and said it himself. He needs a rest. I do fear for Rodri, and we're going to talk about and genuinely big up his unbeaten run of 66. And, you know, while an unbeaten run of 66 is unbelievable, you do have to talk about the workload he's taking on to make sure that this unbeaten run continues. You know, when we win games and when we don't lose games, Rodri is such a massive, massive factor, if not the defining factor in why we don't lose games. Such a dominant force in midfield, such an enforcer, such a creator, such an all-round Rolls Royce of a defensive midfielder, the closest thing we've seen to Busquets since Busquets in his prime. The guy is playing way, way, way too much football. He's being totally over-relied on. And when he's saying things himself like, I need a rest, the club and the management team need to take that on board and do something to prevent total burnout. Because look, whilst it's great when you're winning games, whilst it's great when you're winning trophies, if we're going to give Rodri a new contract, which it looks like we are, the rumor is that Rodri is this summer or in the near future going to be offered a new contract. A massive salary increase, totally justified, deserves every single penny. If we want to prolong Rodri's, you know, peak performance levels, you're going to have to manage the guy as best as possible. Now, in the long term, does that mean we go and look at a backup the defensive midfielder? Do we continue to run with the versatile number 8 who can also play as a 6 type thing, you know, Gundogan, Kovacic sort of vibe, you know, that type of player who can do multiple roles? Or do we have to find a way where Rodri simply just doesn't have to play? I mean, just slightly jumping forward a bit to the Luton game, I'm kind of of the mindset that I would prefer Rodri doesn't play the Luton game at all. Look, Luton at home this Saturday is probably, on paper, the easiest fixture we have between now and the end of this season. So if there was ever an opportunity to give Rodri a full 90 minutes off, it's going to be this Saturday. You bear in mind we have Real Madrid coming up again, in, as you say, a shootout, a 90-minute shootout on is it Tuesday or Wednesday. We need Rodri in peak performance because for me, we know Rodri's a lot better than what we saw in the Bernabeu, but there's just is so blatantly fatigue creeping in because simple things in the Bernabeu for me, Joe, where Rodri's given the ball away, he was slightly slower than usual in the half turn, slightly slower than usual to make his decisions, slightly slower than usual to play that pass where when Rodri's fully feeling himself, he'll zip that pass, he'll make that turn quickly, he's thinking quicker, he's sharper in general. If we want to give ourselves the best chance, we're going to have to... Like, we are, as of right now, sort of Rodri FC. I know people beat us with that stick as if it's a negative thing, but he's that important, people. He really is that important. So, I mean, I don't know. Your opinions, Joe, for Rodri. Do you see fatigue in there and interlink that with the Luton sort of thing? I mean, I like to believe we can beat Luton at home without Rodri.
So would I. I won't play him. Like... It's the way he plays football in our system is because he needs to he takes a lot of time on the ball because he almost waits until the very last moments to play a pass to see if that, you know, catches a few players out of position. Because obviously when teams press us, if he waits till the last moment, he can maybe catch a player out of position and break quickly. So that's the way he plays. But he was so clear against Real Madrid that extra half second he was taking to do, you know, normal actions that he does every game, you know, turning. He was getting caught on the ball. It wasn't necessarily sloppy passing for a lot of it. He was getting tackled. He was getting dispossessed. Like he was just getting caught on the ball because he was being too slow.
So unlike him.
Which is, it's totally unlike him. And that comes down to fatigue and tiredness. He's taken that extra half second because he needs it. He's not thinking clearly. Like, and that comes down to fatigue. He's burnt out. He's playing too much football. Like everything, the more football you play, gradually everything slows down. All the processes slow down because it becomes a slog. It just becomes tiring to do those things day in, day out because it's not just the amount of games he plays as well. Like, people sometimes don't take this into account. He's training, and when he's not training, he's playing. Like, there is zero rest for this guy. Because when he's not playing, he's training. Like, he doesn't get a day off. He hasn't had a day off in like 2 years. Apart from being suspended, he's not had a day off.
The suspension was probably the best thing for him at that time because it meant he could come back from the suspension and perform to the levels he has. But when we're totally reliant on him now at the critical point of the season, well, I don't say we're totally reliant on him, but he's that important that you don't want Rodri. I don't think he's burnt out. I just think you can see signs that Rodri's getting tired. Look, it may be one of those nights for him in the Bernabeu where it wasn't perfect Rodri. I don't think he actually had a really bad game all in all. It just wasn't 10 out of 10 Rodri, which we're totally used to. Guys, there's 80 people in the building and we're on 35 likes. Let's try and get to 50 likes. I reckon we can hit 50 likes if you guys smash that like button and subscribe if you're new around here. There's also a link in the the chat. Big up Loquacious, big up the Formidables, big up Mad DG, big up Sir MCFC. There's a link in the chat to anybody who wants to support me and Joe on this channel. Loads of content being made as always. To become a channel member, pin that chat, pin that comment as well, Joe. Put it as the pin chat. Anybody who wants to be a channel member, the opportunity is there. Massively appreciate all of your support. But he is unbeaten in 66 games. If we are to have any success this season, which I fully believe us to do so, he's going to be absolutely crucial. I see some people in the chat saying he doesn't even need to play the game against Chelsea in the FA Cup. There's a lot of talk about double treble. Is there any reality to that? Still, for me, no. I'm not talking about double trebles. I'm not talking about winning back-to-back trebles, because one treble is absolutely mental. Is FA Cup a game where you think you could give Rodri a rest? I mean, Kovacic just had first of all, actually, before we talk about that, how did you think Kovacic did? I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on Kovacic. People saying he was good, he was controlling the play well. Some people saying he was giving up possession. Some people saying he was trying hard, it just wasn't going his way. Was it the right decision for you and everybody in the chat to play Kovacic in that midfield? Bearing in mind, no Kevin De Bruyne as well.
Well, I'd be interested to see, if not, like, who else? What, do you move Bernardo into the midfield and play a Jeremy Doku? Is that the other solution? Like, Pep's hands were tied. It wasn't the plan. That was not the plan. Was not to play Kovacic. I feel like that maybe have contributed to the sort of wacky first half. Is we had 3 players who had their positions moved like 2 hours before kickoff, with De Bruyne dropping out. I believe that the way that Pep was going to set up was De Bruyne plays where Foden was playing, Bernardo plays where Kovacic was playing, and Foden plays where Bernardo was playing. Foden's out on the right, Bruyne's in the middle, Bernardo's in the middle. I believe that was what was supposed to happen. Then obviously De Bruyne drops out and Kovacic comes in as the natural replacement. That's 3 shifting of players like moments before the teams were announced. Like, that's not what they trained. That's not what they prepared for. There's no preparation for that. You know, it was just an unforeseen situation, which is unfortunate, but that might have contributed to the first half. But if you don't play Kovacic, you're basically saying Nunes or Doku and move some players about, Oscar Bob, but playing Oscar Bob in the Bernabeu, there's a chance the occasion just completely swallows him up. Like, there is a big chance that happens. He's never played in a game like that before, so I don't think he was great, but I don't think what he was being asked to do was something that he's good at. Because I think, at least in the first half anyway, second half, when we got more control, slowed the game down, played at our pace, I think he came into the game a bit more. But the first half, he was asked in possession to basically play more advanced, like a bit of a higher up 8, and try and create something, which is not what he's necessarily good at. He's not a chance creator. He's not a forward-thinking player. He's not good in and around the box. He's just not. So that didn't help. And because he was being asked to push higher up, when Real Madrid got on the counter, he wasn't in a position to defend, so he wasn't helping out Rodri. So he was kind of stuck in a limbo where he wasn't really contributing to either side of the game. He was just kind of there. But in the second half, when we get more control of the game, it kind of improved a little bit when we started slowing down the game. But it's I don't put too much of it on him because he was a last-minute replacement. I really don't think there's I don't think he was bad. I just don't think he was good. But again, not a lot of that comes down to him. Like, he's being asked to play a role that didn't fully suit him on a short notice as well.
So we're kind of in agreement that his best attributes and the best side of his game, as we know, are the defensive side of things. So with that bear in mind, I think we have to find ways in which we can utilize Kovacic in a number 6 or a defensive role as much as possible, because you can't sustain Rodri's performance levels with the amount of football he's being told to play. He's playing 3 games a week at the minute. 2-3 games a week, 90 minutes. It's not sustainable. It's not something we want. It's not something that he wants. He's spoken openly about it. It's not something he wants. He knows how good he is. He knows how important he is, but his own career will be jeopardized if he's playing 90 minutes week in, week out, twice, 3 times a week, season in, season out. I mean, last season he played something like 58, 59 games just for City alone. That's outrageous, people. That is not sustainable. It's not healthy. It's not good for him. So, I mean, I'm looking at Kovacic and saying, look, we brought you in. We know what you're good at. We know what you're not good at. we need to find ways and games. We need to kill games as quick as possible and give Rodri 20 minutes, half an hour rest as much as possible for me. Because if the game against Real Madrid the other night was a sign of what's to come for Rodri off the back of fatigue that he's experiencing, it's not good. It's not good. It's gonna hinder us in our pursuit of winning the Premier League, the Champions League, and maybe the FA Cup too. You just don't know. I mean, look, first of all, we have to give the guy credit. 66 games unbeaten is just absolutely outrageous. Like, it's outrageous. It highlights how important he is. It highlights so much as well, the progression and development he has made as a player. When you think, people, of what Rodri was when he first arrived to Manchester City, a relatively unknown, let's be real, on the grand scheme of things, defensive midfielder from Atletico Madrid. We bring him in. We have Fernandinho at the time, who is one of the best defensive midfielders in the world at the time, and we're saying this Rodri guy is never going to take his place. He's doing the double pivot with Gundogan. You guys know, you'll remember it if you're being honest. Not many of us were fans of the double pivot at the time, Rodri Gundogan. And then he's just morphed and grown into this powerhouse, monstrous presence in midfield, where he's now at the point where when he doesn't play, there's a high likelihood we drop points or we don't get the result we're looking for. He's just an absolute Rolls Royce of a footballer who, like I keep saying, people, we simply have to look after, Joe. I mean, the 66 unbeaten, that's why it's the first thing on the title. He's been our most crucial player in our most crucial seasons at the most crucial moments.
And it doesn't get any better, does it, with an international tournament this summer? Like, he might die. He might perish. Like, he's going to go to the Euros with Spain. Like, he's going to play every single minute there that they're in the tournament. Like, there needs to be some level of consideration that, come on, we can afford to give him a rest against Luton. You know, Luton, it's not an easy game because they give it a go. They've, like, against the bigger sides, they've done well. But we're at home and they're in the relegation zone. With the games that we've got left this season, on paper, like you said, on paper, probably the easiest we're going to get for the rest of the season. I'm even looking at Chelsea in the FA Cup and going, I'll probably give him a rest there as well. Like, it's not of the utmost importance. Like, yes, it's nice. I'm not totally disregarding it, but I would give him a rest. Chelsea are mid-table. I know we've drawn with them twice, but they're in the middle of the table. You know, they beat Man United in the last minute. They drawn against 10-men Burnley. Like, there's a chance they just don't turn up. I'd rather take a risk with Kovacic in there and give Rodri an extra rest because the Premier League is more valuable. The Champions League is more valuable.
I think people are holding on to this double treble thing a bit too much. It's not something we should expect. It's not something we should demand, and it's not something we should be speaking about too regularly. Let the red media, the red cartel media, do that and try to put us under pressure. Let people talk about that who don't really have any stake or emotional attachment to Manchester City. There's a good point in the chat here I want to raise. There's over 100 in the building. We're on 50 likes. Make sure you've all smashed that like button. Your likes really, really do help. Subscribe if you're new around here. And in the pinned message in the chat, anybody wants to help support me and Joe, you can become a channel member. Excuse me, I'm still recovering from Madrid, people. The formidable Centurions, our biggest letdown was Calvin Phillips. I do agree with that. I think this reliance on Rodri to play games has become amplified because Calvin Phillips didn't become what we wanted him to become. I think there's absolutely no denying that Calvin Phillips was meant to be the man that would come in and relieve Rodri of feeling the way he does. I mean, people, it's not a good thing when a player is saying he doesn't want to be playing week in, week out, or he's feeling tired. It's not a good thing. Players don't talk about these things unless it's serious, unless it's a reality. If Rodri's actually feeling like this and talking about it publicly, it's a real thing. If we had Calvin Phillips and he became what we thought he was going to become, you know, Rodri wouldn't have played against, he wouldn't have done one of the Palace or Villa games, and so on and so forth. And it is what it is. So this summer, I mean, Nunes, yeah, but Nunes is still a very much unknown quantity to me. I don't know what Mateus Nunes' role in this squad is. I don't know what he's meant to be moving forward. We've seen him play as a number 8. We've seen him play in the left wing. We've seen him do box to box. And I'm not quite sure where Pep has decided is the role Nunes is going to slot into. What's he meant to be? We haven't seen enough evidence of Nunes in a defensive side of things to suggest, yeah, you can be Rodri's placeholder when he needs to take a weekend off or he needs to be taken off in a game. So I don't really know. But Calvin Phillips as an out-and-out number 6, he was meant to be the guy. I don't think Calvin ever came to Man City and people were like, he's going to take Rodri's place. That was never going to be the case. Calvin came on the understanding that he was going to be sharing a role with Rodri, both performing when he has to perform and also helping the team. It's a team thing. It's helping out the team by helping Rodri and taking minutes off Rodri, and that was never the case. So are we going to have to go out this summer and find just simply a number 6? An actual just number 6 who can play and share minutes with Rodri, and share minutes with Rodri, because I don't know with this, you're buying a midfielder who's just under the umbrella of he's a midfielder, but we're not actually sure what his area of midfield is to be. Is he meant to be a Gundogan type? Is he meant to be a Rodri replacement? Is he meant to be a Kev replacement or substitute? We don't actually fucking know. So, in your opinion, do we have to go and get a number 6 this summer? We've seen links to Bruno Guimaraes. No, undoubtedly, he can do a very good job at number 6. Is there any 6s out there we can go and get? It seems like the Kimmich thing is dying or is dead, according to my latest read of that situation. I don't know, people. What do you think, Joe?
You're naming midfielders that fit under that exact umbrella of they're a midfielder.
I know.
They're a midfielder.
I know, yeah. It's just a vague umbrella of it's a midfielder, but I can't think of anybody who you go, there's our Rodri helper. There's our Rodri.
There isn't one, because they're either not good enough or they're too good to accept a backup role. Everybody knows, any player that we sign that is exclusively a holding midfielder, any player will know that they are second choice and will probably never be first choice. That's the reality, that whoever we sign is going to look at the situation and go, well, Rodri's there, so I'm probably not going to play too often. Why would I come here? And then you're looking at players who are willing to accept that role. They're probably lesser players and probably not good enough. That's why we're going to struggle to find an out-and-out number 6 replacement. Because who's going to accept sitting on the bench most weeks for the biggest games? Real Madrid's. Who's going to go, I'm going to be sat on the bench because Rodri's here? Who's going to accept that as a player? Not many. Not many if they have anything about them.
Well, you'd be surprised. You need to find a player who's not totally ego-filled and decides that they are the number 6 wherever they go. You come to Manchester City because you want to play under Pep Guardiola. You come to Manchester City not because you want to be the main man and catch all the headlines. No one's going to have the impact that Erling Haaland did when they arrived. I'm sorry, you're not going to get that. If you're coming to Manchester City, you're coming to be part of a squad. You're coming to be part of a squad that gets rotated very frequently, rotated very heavily. You could do what Mahrez did, score a hat-trick in an FA Cup semi-final and not play the next game. You're not coming to be the main guy. So you got to find someone who fits both tactically and positionally as well as personality-wise. There has to be someone out there, because I don't feel comfortable long-term with it's Rodri and then we have a load of midfielders that can maybe slot in. I hate this umbrella of just midfielders. I get it in an attacking sense. I get it with De Bruyne's, Foden's, Bernardo's, Gundogan's, these kind of players. But when it comes to an extremely pivotal role in Rodri and what he does, the number 6 role is he's the orchestrator. He's the quarterback. He's the main man in both on the ball and off the ball. I don't feel comfortable with, well, our backup to our best one is maybe one of these guys that we have. It just doesn't sit with me.
We've got that's what we've got to settle for, though, because it's hard to find an out-and-out number 6 who's willing to accept that bench role. It's very, very difficult. It's a lot easier to find one of these umbrella 8s that can do everything. It's just so much easier and probably cheaper and less hassle. With the whole Kovacic thing, he was cheap. He can do the role. Same thing with Bruno. Bruno won't be cheap, but he can do the role. People saying Kimmich, yeah, he can do loads of different roles. He's not an out-and-out number 6, though, is he?
That's it. When you know how important the role is, don't just find a player you go, well, he can do the role, but we don't know if he can do it to the level that we want or the consistency that we want. You want to find a specialist. You want to find just a number 6 to help Rodri, because like I keep saying, it's not sustainable what he's doing. It's just not sustainable. Guys, 115 people in the building. Make sure you've all smashed that big thumbs up button, the like button. It massively helps me and Joe here. And subscribe if you're new around here. We're getting close now to 8K. It would be absolutely fantastic to hit 8K. Yeah, Palhinha is a big one. He's kind of what I'm talking about, really, Formidable Centurions. There's the pinned chat, and there's a link in the chat now if anybody wants to become a channel member and help support me and Joey. We'll big up everybody who's tuning in to support us. Palhinha is that kind of player I'm talking about. Just he's a number 6. He's an out number 6. We're probably victims at the minute to how good Rodri is. I fully take your point on board, Joe. I really do. That there's not a huge... I know I keep saying we need to find one, but there's not a huge amount of players out there who are... they're like, yeah, I'm a number 6. I'm a specialist number 6. Probably what I'm talking about. But Rodri's there. Do I want to go and compete with Rodri? No. So, in one way, it's amazing that we have Rodri and how good he is, and I wouldn't trade him for anyone or anything. But we're victims of how good he is because no one wants to come and battle for shirt with him. It's the hardest shirt to come and take is Rodri's at Manchester City because Kev's doing his thing, but he's going to have to be managed. He's not going to play 90 minutes week in, week out. Haaland, he has Alvarez there, and Pep does chop and change more so than he does with Rodri on that side. So it's the hardest shirt to come and steal or compete for is Rodri's. I think that's fair to say, Joe.
Yeah, which is why signing someone like a Palhinha will probably be an easier bet because, no disrespect to Fulham, but the jump from Fulham to us is pretty big. So that probably negates some of the riding bench. But in a hypothetical situation, in just a made-up situation, if there is any player that we try and sign that is a specialist number 6, if there is any competition from any other club in Europe, we're immediately at a disadvantage because of playing time. We're immediately on the back foot.
I mean, B in the chat says Kimmich is the perfect top-level utility player. He is, and that's why we've all wanted him so badly, and that's why whenever any news comes out about Kimmich, we're all over it. But getting Kimmich out of Bayern seems to be an absolute nightmare. No one actually knows what he wants. No one knows what the future holds for Bayern Munich. I suppose that's kind of interlinked to what's in the title about Musiala. City want Musiala. I'm going to read that out now, actually, and we'll have a chat about Musiala. But look, the Rodri thing, it's an ongoing issue that we do have to keep an eye on, I suppose. Right, hit the like button, people. Here's some Musiala news. I know we have a lot of Musiala fans in the chat. This is from Miguel Delaney. You guys can decide how reliable sources are, as always, but Miguel Delaney is a pretty big name when it comes to football transfers. He says Man City are considering a move for Bayern Munich's Jamal Musiala this summer, with their interest more advanced than rivals. There is a belief among clubs that the 21-year-old may be viable this year or next, with Man City the most interested. Now, does it come as a surprise that there's a number of clubs around Europe interested in Jamal Musiala? Absolutely fucking not, because he's an absolutely class player. First of all, him at Manchester City be absolute class, but my comes for getting him out of Bayern Munich. I find it very, very hard to see a reality in taking Bayern Munich's crown jewel off them. I mean, I don't know about you, Joe.
I just don't get it. Is it just putting your name in the hat to see if you can off-put him and maybe he will say he wants out? Is it... I don't know what it. I don't. Why? Why do we need this player? What do you think Kevin De Bruyne might be off this summer, and you need a body to come in and replace him? If not, what does that mean for Phil Foden, who's just played in the number 10 at the Bernabeu and got a man of the match trophy? Like, I don't get it. Is that not overloading? I know Kevin De Bruyne is going to have his minutes managed, but you've got Phil Foden. Like, do we need Musiala? Or is this just, again, like I said, something that you put your name in the hat because everybody else is, and there's a chance that you might want out? I really don't get it. Like, he's a good player, yeah, but like at the potential of him taking minutes off of Phil Foden in the central role, hell no. No.
Musiala's versatile though, isn't he? He's very versatile. I mean, I'm looking at his heat map here. This season he's played holding mid, attacking mid, and left wing. So he fits the Manchester City kind of philosophy of versatility. I think it's simply to do with Kevin De Bruyne. I do. I think it's simply to do with Kevin De Bruyne, and I don't think it's that Kevin De Bruyne is leaving this summer. My belief is Kevin De Bruyne is not leaving this summer. I think it's simply what you touched on, which is managing minutes. Kevin De Bruyne, through the nature of his injuries, through his age, and once again, similarly to what I said about Rodri, even though Rodri's a lot younger, is that you want to prolong Kevin De Bruyne's career. You want to keep. I think there's still 2-3 good years in Kevin De Bruyne, but with less reliance, less minutes. You save him for the big moments. You play him less. Musiala he may be that kind of transitional player, because I've seen quite a few reports, and people talking about what life looks like after Kevin De Bruyne. And there's no doubt that Manchester City are thinking about what is life after Kevin De Bruyne. And one thing that we like to do, and it's so obvious we do, is we try to fix problems before they arise. You look for your quote unquote replacement before your current placeholder leaves. So it's a nice transitional period. It's not just go, boom, he's gone, boom, you're in. Like Fernandinho to Rodri, and so on and so forth. That's my conclusion with Musiala, is I believe that he is meant to be the Kevin De Bruyne future model. And I'm not saying he's going to be Kevin De Bruyne or ever achieve what Kevin De Bruyne did, or be as good as Kevin De Bruyne, because Kevin De Bruyne is Kevin De Bruyne. It's just, I believe he is what City believe one of the futures of our midfield umbrella is. Once again, I don't mean that he's going to take minutes off Phil Foden. I just think he'll fall under that umbrella of midfielders and attacking players like Bernardo, like Foden, like, Nunes, whoever.
Like, I do understand, of course, you want to put your name in the hat, because he's a player that has a very high potential, and he's already playing at a very high level. And there will become a point where Kevin De Bruyne leaves or completely falls off. That's natural. That happens to every single player in world football. So we do tend to future-proof, sign before a problem arises, and that's why we're so well run. But the last thing I want to do is for us to sign another advanced creative midfielder and that force Phil Foden into a wide position at times. He cannot play out wide ever again. I'm not having it. I'm not here for it.
We're gonna chat about Foden, Joe. We are gonna chat about Foden.
I know, but that it links to the Musiala point of.
But does it though? Why can't you play both at the same time?
Because Pep is so reluctant to play two normal attacking midfielders. If he's not playing Foden with De Bruyne, I don't get it. I mean, you could prove me wrong. You could play both, but that's what we all want to see. I don't know why there's not this trust that Phil Foden can't play as, the 8, the deeper of the two midfielders with Kevin De Bruyne. I don't know why there's not this trust that he can't do that. I don't know why. Like, I genuinely don't get it. But I mean, Musiala, given he can cover most, advanced positions on the pitch, I think him being able to cover on the left is. Maybe you can interchange him with Grealish at times as well. Him being, I don't know if he's a similar player, but in terms of being a midfielder in a wide position suits the Pep philosophy. So I'm not, it's not that I'm against it and saying, no, don't sign him, what's the point? But it's a lot of money to pay as well for a player who fits the system, but potentially moves other players out, like Phil Foden. Doesn't have a set position. It's a lot of money to pay for someone who doesn't have a set position in the team, I think is my point.
No one really has a set position in the team, do they? I mean, I think you could see...
Grealish is our record signing and he has a set position. He plays left.
Grealish is the exception because he's a really unique player who has a very specific role. But Bernardo, Foden, Kovacic, Nunes... the main bulk of our midfield options are all versatile players who can do a number of roles. I mean, sorry, my transfer mark was wrong. Musiala this season has played attacking mid, right wing, and left wing. If that doesn't scream Pep has a hard on, I don't know what does. And also I didn't mention, and I should have totally when I said my conclusion with Musiala, Bernardo Silva. There's a high possibility Bernardo Silva is going to leave this summer. I have an increasing feeling Bernardo's going to leave this summer. Does Musiala not tick the boxes that Bernardo does? Oh, yeah, he does.
Paqueta ticks it more for me. Left-footed, play off the right, cut inside, play as an 8. Premier League proven. I'm not saying Premier League proven matters. I mean, Musiala's doing it in the Champions League. That really doesn't matter. But in terms of he'd cost less, and we know what we're getting, but Paqueta's closer to Bernardo Silva than Musiala is. and he's cheaper.
Paqueta's older as well. I mean, he's not an
He
old
is.
player, Paqueta, but he's older. He's older by Paqueta by a little bit, by a couple of years. Musiala has a higher ceiling, and Musiala he does he does have a higher ceiling than Lucas Paqueta. So I could see. I'm not saying don't go and get Lucas Paqueta. I could just see why City. I think he ticks so many City boxes. Jamal Musiala. I could see why Pep would really want him. I'd love Lucas Paqueta. Listen, if Lucas Paqueta turns up that he had this summer with a blue shirt on, I am doing the samba. Absolutely love that. But Musiala, like, if you can make it happen, I think you got to make it happen.
Yeah, there's the big if. If signing him, because it's going to be in the region of 100 million plus, like it just is for that sort of player. So if signing him comes at the detriment to budget for signing other players, then no, we shouldn't do it because it's not a necessity. You know, we can get, someone like Paqueta who's a bit cheaper, who can do similar roles. Maybe, of course, like you said, he's a bit older. Probably he doesn't have as high a ceiling. But if that means we can spread a bit of money about and sign other players in other positions, like you said, finding a backup to Rodri, probably going to cost a bit as well. Do we need another defender? Given the fact that there have been times this season where we've had very little amounts in terms of John Stones picking up injuries, Walker is injured and getting older. Like, do we need another defender? Do we need another winger? Is that something that we might see if Bernardo Silva's going to go and you view him as a winger? Do we need another wide player? Like, is that just something we need? I don't know. Like, it depends how many positions people think we need to strengthen. And Musiala. If you think we need 3-4 different signings, then Musiala's probably not for us. If you only think we need 1 or 2, then yeah.
Well, there is reports and increasing talk that City are going to have a big summer this summer, like a big summer. I'm going to pull in a few big names.
I've heard that before.
We've heard that before. We've heard
We've heard that so many times before.
I know. Listen, guys, 120 in the building. Let's get up to 100 likes. How sick would that be? 100 likes. And there's a link in the chat. Anybody wants to help support the channel to become a channel member, you would be an absolute legend. And you get a badge beside your name. We'll make you a channel moderator and so on and so forth. Big up Dr. Footy here with the ZAR14. Good to see you, Dr. Footy, my friend. I know you well. He says, would need Kovac to stay if we don't get Kimmich. We would, I think, unless we go and get another out-and-out replacement. I mean, I've read reports, I don't know how true it is, that Kovacic has interest from Saudi, and they're willing to pay him a lot of money to go out there. I genuinely don't know the truth to that. I don't know how long City want to keep him for. If we're to go and get an out-and-out number 6 replacement, the one I'm talking about, the mythical number 6 backup that I can't seem to think of, and we got, say, a Paqueta / Musiala, you struggle to see where Kovacic and Matheus Nunes get their minutes from, Joe.
Well, Kovacic would be my first sacrifice. I think he's pretty old. He's not going to get any better. He doesn't have a set position because he can't play too high up, but he's not really trusted to play as a regular, as a number 6. So he was a stopgap, wasn't he, when we signed him? I think we all kind of knew that he was just cheap and available. He wasn't like a name that we were desperate to get. He was just out there for little to no money. What was it, 30, 35 million for a player?
25.
For a player of, that experience, it was a no-brainer. He was just available. He wasn't, necessarily a part of our transfer plans. He just kind of fell into our laps. So it was always going to be a stopgap.
For me, he's a disappointing Gundogan replacement. Now, people, please don't take me up on that wrong and say I dislike Kovacic. I get Kovacic. I understand his role and I understand what he was brought in for. But when you think of the drop-off from Gundogan to Kovacic, I mean, I don't know, did you watch Gundogan against PSG the other night? Class. He was class. He's still an unbelievable player. He's still someone who could... I'd happily play Gundogan for us in the Etihad on Tuesday or Wednesday night against Real Madrid. He's still that good. So Kovacic was meant to be kind of the Gundogan placeholder / replacement that is nowhere near as good as Gundogan. He's just nowhere near as good as Gundogan.
We knew that before he signed, though. We knew he was not going to be that good before he signed. His shooting is horrible, and he's coming in to replace a guy who can hit 20 goals a season.
Yeah, it's it just is what it is. We're going to have to find the next sort of Gundogan / De Bruyne / whatever, and how easy that is to do is not, you can't quantify. Paqueta, Musiala, these kind of players are definitely potential candidates to do so. We need to keep it fresh, need to keep it refreshed. I think we're going to see a big summer. I think we're finally going to see the big summer that City have been threatening to unleash on us for years now. And remember, 2 years ago, it was the war chest. This summer, or last summer, it was the treble money and all that kind of stuff. And this summer, I think it's time to refresh. I mean, I don't know, did you see the report today, Joe, or was it yesterday maybe, about offering Pep a new contract this summer, but they're not sure on the answer. They don't know what it is. I think if you're going to give yourself the best chance of keeping Pep Guardiola, you need to give him the best young talent. You need to give him the fresh young talent, keep his squad refreshed, and don't allow it to go stale. There's a lot of players in that squad who've been around a long time, who have won everything. You need to keep bringing in young, hungry, fresh players who fit the Guardiola profile, fit the Guardiola criteria. City, I think, have to do that this summer. If you want to keep Pep, I think you have to do that this summer. Give Pep the resources to go again. People are saying that if we win another treble, I know I keep saying not to talk about it, but if we win another treble this season, Pep Guardiola will view that as the perfect time to bow out. I don't think so. I don't think Pep Guardiola views any perfect time to bow out. I think Pep Guardiola is the kind of manager that, if he feels the resources are there, the ambition is there, and the squad is there to continue, he will continue. So for me, this summer it's I don't know what the word is. It's imperative that we do that, Joe. If you want to keep Pep, it's all interlinked. You know, bringing in great young players, bringing in talent for on the pitch is important, but keeping Pep for me is important above all.
There's a big indication to what lies ahead, what the vision is based on the transfer dealings that we do, because we signed Doku, we signed Nunes, who's mid-20s, relatively young. We signed these sorts of players. Oscar Bobb's getting his opportunity. He really likes Rico Lewis. He's getting his opportunity. These sorts of players, just signed Vardiol as well. He's early 20s. You forget how young he is. Haaland's still in his early 20s. Foden's had his coming of age now in the middle of the pitch. Like, if you keep signing young players, why would you sign these young, inexperienced, room to improve players if your manager's not going to stay? Why would you sign all these young players if you don't, want that to be the case where your manager stays on? I think that if we have the knowledge that Pep's going to be off in the next couple of years, then your signings become different. You almost lean more towards proven players, maybe mid to late 20s, because you want to maximise your winning window. With Pep Guardiola, you want to maximise what you can get out of him. I don't see the point in signing, relatively inexperienced players, like Jeremy Doku. What's the point in signing Doku if you don't think Pep's going to be here to nurture him into the player he's going to hopefully become? Like, I don't get that signing if that's not the case. So it's the most important thing for us winning, for certain players' developments. Also the most important thing for signing players, because our biggest pulling power is Pep Guardiola. Like, it's not, and I know we win trophies and we have a lot of money and, we're pretty good, but our biggest pulling power is still Pep Guardiola. Like, that is still what attracts players to come. Like, that's
Absolutely.
just a matter of fact. So keeping him happy is, important, because you want to keep him, because then you attract the bigger names, get the better players, win trophies. That's the main thing, of course. It all boils down to one man that you have to keep happy. But like you said, I don't believe that he views a second treble as being like perfection. I'm off now. He's a psychopath. You don't know what he's thinking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Listen, 150 odd people in the building. Absolutely fantastic numbers. Great to see you all here. Make sure you've hit that like button. We're 10 likes off 100. Surely we can hit 100. Subscribe if you're new. I think we're 4 subscribers. We are, 4 subscribers away from 7.5k, which would be absolutely great. And there's a link in the chat if anybody wants to help support me and Joe. Become a channel member. You'll get your messages prioritized. You get a link a badge beside your name. We'll make you a channel moderator so you can, help me enjoy it with the chat and that kind of thing. Plenty of perks and access to our Discord server. Plenty of blues in there talking all the time. So the link is in the chat now if anybody wants to be a channel member. Big love. Yeah, I don't think we. I see a lot of people talking about the transfers of last summer in the chat, saying they don't think we signed particularly well, and we probably didn't sign particularly well. Maybe with the exception of Vardiol, none of them for me are like mega signings or like, you know, the perfect signing or a really big one for the future. Maybe Doku. You could maybe say Doku, but we're yet to see that from Doku properly. So I think that's why I think that leads on again to we have to sign well this summer. I think this summer is absolutely huge for Manchester City. Right, let's move it on. We have to talk about Phil Foden because he absolutely deserves it. We're 7 likes now off 100, which is great. Phil Foden, man of the match in the Bernabeu, scored an absolutely unbelievable goal, constantly proving his doubters wrong, constantly raising his profile. Must be one of the highest valued players in world football right now. I don't know what his total valuation is. I thought to step into that midfield role, probably at very last minute. No, undoubtedly he was on the team sheet, Joe, before the game, but probably on the right wing. When Kevin De Bruyne had to drop out, to step into that midfield role in the Bernabeu, Champions League knockout football, score that goal, and he was threatening going forward. It was just another step forward for Phil Foden where you go, wow, this guy he's just unbelievable. And I know, listen, a lot of people were taking it as a negative towards Kevin De Bruyne last week when people were saying, oh, should Foden start ahead of Kev? Should Kev be dropped for Foden and yada, yada, yada. It shouldn't be viewed as a disrespect to Kevin De Bruyne. It should be viewed as a compliment to Phil Foden and how well he has done this season, but particularly since the turn of the year. The Bernabeu was a statement from Phil Foden, I think, Joe. It was just special to see him, and that goal was right in front of us in the away end. He hits it with such venom, and you're kind of going, no way. Boom. And he did that against, was it Liverpool or was it United? I think it was United, and done the Bernabeu now. He's just magnificent.
Want to highlight a little comment that's caught my eye from Arias. Foden is amazing, but he's not good enough to start for England, if that makes sense. Not better than Bellingham and not an international football type winger. He just came into Bellingham's back garden and dropped a man of the match on his head top. I'm not having it. I'm not having it.
Tell him, Joe. Tell him.
Gareth, I hope you were watching, Sunshine, because that is what you could have. But no, Jude and Gallagher, Conor Gallagher playing in an 8, get out of here. This is football. This is football. I think, now if I'm being real and not just going over the top, the first half, I think it was a bit of a struggle. Pep said it. We didn't really pick him out. It was the pattern of the game, wasn't it? It was so open and so quick that we didn't get time on the ball because we were just rushing things. Foden wasn't found. He struggled early on with the physicality, like he tried to do a few of his trademark turns, get the ball in the half turn and run. But Madrid were being physical, and the ref allowed a lot of physicality, which I thought was, a refreshing sign. So there was always a player pretty much on his hip whenever he tried to receive the ball, and he struggled a little bit early on. Shoved off the ball a couple of times, upset a little bit. But in the second half, he gained so much momentum. It's almost like he figured out that they were going to be physical, they were going to be aggressive to try and stop him from getting too much time on the ball. And he grew into the game, and then he scores that goal, and it skyrockets from there. He was so fluid, linking up play, switching the play. It's a very difficult role to play as an advanced midfielder, as a number 10 in the Bernabeu, in a game like that where there's not a lot of room to operate. He is the main guy. He was the main guy. Haaland's up there. He's got 2 men on him. He's basically a distraction. Foden is the main guy. He is the end product of what we do, pretty much. All eyes were on him. Everything that we were doing going forward was pretty much on him. And he shouldered it pretty well. He grew into the game. It's unfortunate that he picks up an injury because you never know what he could have done towards the end of the game. But he grows into the game when he finds out what he needs to do. I feel like, again, he struggled early on. Pep said it. He struggled early on because we didn't find him. But just so good. Man of the match, maybe a bit fortunate with the man of the match trophy, but he was one of them. He was up there.
You can't really argue it too heavily and say he doesn't deserve it. But this Foden versus Bellingham thing, the Bellingham thing is totally hyped up because he plays for Real Madrid, and I get that. To go to Real Madrid to stamp your authority on the team and become one of the main men, it is absolutely unbelievable. I really stand by this. I really stand by this, people. Objectively, City had removed that as a footballer, all-round technical ability, flair, style of play, creativity, just natural footballing ability. I really believe Foden is streets ahead of Bellingham. I really do. I love the attitude and the character of Bellingham and the tenacity and the leadership and the jeering on the crowd. And that's unbelievable. And he's fantastic. And I believe he's going to be a terrific player for Real Madrid and for England as well. I really believe it, though, that in terms of footballing ability, Foden is a better footballer significantly than Jude Bellingham. I think if Phil Foden was doing for Real Madrid what Bellingham is doing for Real Madrid, sorry, if Foden was doing for Real Madrid what he's doing for Manchester City, people would be talking about Phil Foden like the next Messi, the next, I don't know, the next fucking best thing since sliced bread. Phil Foden, for me, is just a magical footballer. He's one of those players who very soon people will start to pay to go to watch Manchester City because they want to watch Phil Foden. They want to watch Phil Foden. Is it because I don't know? Is it because he's English? Is it because he plays for Man City? He doesn't wear red? I don't know. He's a magical footballer who this season has excelled and improved game after game. Responsibility bearing, goal scoring, assists, any competition, big games, derbies. Foden's there. He's there. I was just so buzzing for him, and the vibes in the away end when he scored that goal was just, it was magic to see one of your own. We all know he doesn't get the praise and respect he deserves, but we as a fan base have to. I really believe that. If Bellingham was still at Dortmund, playing the way he is now at Dortmund, there probably wouldn't be a conversation. It's only because he wears that white shirt of Real Madrid. Everyone has this thing in their head of, oh, Bellingham must be the best thing since sliced bread. Phil Foden is the best thing since sliced bread. He's left Saka behind. I'm sorry. Phil Foden has left Saka behind. Arsenal fans are always on my case like, why do you always have to talk about Saka when you talk about Foden? Because I'm sick to death of the comparisons. I'm sick to death of media, of Red fans, of Arsenal fans trying to hammer Saka's name into the same conversation as Phil Foden. It's night and day. Saka is a brilliant winger, direct winger, but he's not on Phil Foden's table. He's not sitting with Phil Foden. Foden's doing it in the Bernabeu. He's leading the Manchester City treble-winning team this season. Without Phil Foden, that double treble that people are talking about is definitely not a thing. Definitely not a thing. It could be a thing this season, although I'm not expecting it. But without him, Joe, it's not a thing. I'm sick of the comparisons. I'm sick of the disrespect. I'm sick of this. Well, he doesn't start for England because you have a fucking knobhead of a manager in Gareth Southgate managing the team. He doesn't know how to run an attack in midfield. He doesn't know how to pick a starting 11. That's why you haven't won any trophies with unbelievable squads. Phil Foden should be the main man in that England team, should be built around Phil Foden. I'm sick of the comparisons. I don't know about you, Joe, but I get it a lot.
Well, you get it a lot. I don't get it a lot. But I enjoy hearing the stories. I don't, like, where's the comparison? Where has Phil Foden not done it? Anfield, Bernabeu, Old Trafford. Where do you want it? You name me a stadium that he's played in. He's probably done it. He's probably done it. Like, I don't understand what's left. Like, Saka scored against Bayern. Yeah, granted, it was a pretty good goal, but it's not the same as scoring at the Bernabeu. Like, it's just not. This is the Santiago Bernabeu, home of the 13-time Champions League winners. 13 or 14. They did win another one, didn't they? God, my football knowledge evades me sometimes. But like, that's bigger than scoring at home against Bayern. Like that's massive. Easily massive. Like, the amount of... Look at the CV. The people are saying it in the chat. Look at the CV. 16 trophies already. He's what? 23, 24?
23.
23, he's won 16 trophies already. I don't care about the teams that he's been a part of. Or look at this system and all the players he plays with. I'm not having that argument. I'm simply
Yeah,
just
man.
not having it, because go anywhere on social media when it comes to combined 11s and team of the season or team of the year or team of the tournament, whatever. How many City players get in? How many players do we get in? So we're supposed to have this all-conquering squad, but when it comes to comparing, all our players are worse. You kind of just contradict yourself, and then we end up going round in circles. So you gotta let us have something. And I'm taking this one. I'm taking it.
I just won't have it. Who's in the chat here? Someone made a really good point in the chat that I want to bring up if I can find it. Sorry, the chat's flying. It's great to see so many of you here, man. I love this community we have. You guys are smashing it. Yeah, I can't find it. It was something about Herbal. Big up. He's a member of the chat. Hard to debate either Jude or Saka is better without agenda. Eye test, form, stats, trophies. Foden is clear. I think that's spot on. People talk about stats too much. Earlier on in the season when Saka was smashing home goals, it was, well, look at the goals, look at the assists. I'm sick of people using stats. Stats you can use as one facet of an argument. Football is a game to be watched with your eyes. Football is a game that you have to watch to make a formal opinion. I will not make an opinion on a player based off the numbers I see on my phone. I will make an opinion on a player when I watch them consistently and consecutively perform. And Foden is doing that. Saka is not. There's too many times I tune into Arsenal games and Saka is not as present as he should be. Simple as. 140 in the building still. Make sure you've all smashed the like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you're new around here. And there's a link. I think we're one subscriber off 7.5k, which is wild. Your guys' support has been fantastic. Massively appreciate you all. And there's a link in the chat now if any of you want to support me and Joe and become a member of the channel. Join the community. Join the army we are building. A couple of super chats here to get through. Big up Sanjeet says, Anfield or Bernabeu, better experience. Is he asking me what I think is a better experience, or is he telling me that it's a better experience for a player?
I'm unsure. I mean, we can answer both questions. You've been to both. I think I know your answer, but
Bernabeu for me as a fan. Bernabeu is it's wow. It's wow. People talk about it. It was like going to the Mecca of football, man. It's something you must experience in your life at some point. And like I said before the game, when we were streaming the night before, remember I said I'm not sure if I'm gonna go. I'm a bit tired. I want to do a few bits.
And I told you to go. I said the experience is too much. You can't miss Madrid away when you got a ticket. Yeah,
man. It's one of those experiences that you just have to do. Oh, we've hit 7.5k, Joe. Let's give a round of applause to the chat. 7.5k subscribers, and absolutely appreciate each and every single one of you. All 7,500. Next stop 8k, man. Next stop 8k. And like I said, if you want to become part of the army, there's a link in the chat now to become a channel member. Thank you all for your likes and subscriptions. But yeah, Sanjeet, for me, Bernabeu is a better experience as a fan. I would advise any of you who get a chance to go. Big up my guy Pip. Look, man, good to see you again, brother. He says, imagine drawing to Bayern at home with no fans. Well, look, people with that Arsenal Bayern game were looking too much into the Bayern's form domestically, and I think that's a naive thing to do when you're talking about European competition. Don't focus too much on anyone's form domestically, because when you hop on that plane or the Champions League lights start to shine, your form domestically doesn't matter a fucking toss, because these teams, these big pedigree clubs like Bayern Munich, even at their lowest form or their lowest performance rates, can still get results. When have we experienced that, Joe? Real Madrid. Oh, this weak-ass Real Madrid team. Aura. Real Madrid. You know, they're not the same thing they used to be. No Bale, no Ronaldo, no this, no that. Modric is old, Kroos is old. They still knocked us out 2 seasons ago, didn't they? They won the Champions League with arguably their weakest on paper Champions League winning squad. So Champions League is different, man. Chelsea, they won it. Champions League is different. Domestic form means nothing. I do not put it past Bayern to knock Arsenal out. I really don't. I could see it. I've experienced it as a Man City fan when you're smashing teams domestically and you play against Monaco or you play against Liverpool or you play against Lyon, you play against someone that should not be beating you and you get beat. So yeah, people up. It's Champions League is a humbler, and Arsenal fans are learning that the hard way. I'm telling you on record, they will not win the Champions League. I'm telling you on record. You can clip this, you can archive this, you can bookmark this. They will not win the Champions League this season. You cannot waltz into the Champions League after 14 years out of the knockout stages and win it. It's a humbler. It really humbles you. Anybody in the chat who's a City fan for the last 7, 8, 9 years, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The Champions League humbles you. Domestic performance does not matter. Yeah, Leon was crazy, Elder. Big up people up for the super chat, by the way. We have one more topic that I want to talk about, and it was kind of a last minute one that came to my head there. As I saw a clip from the overlap this morning, or not the overlap, is it the overlap? It's that podcast Neville does with
Stick to football.
Yeah, stick to fucking waffling. Roy Keane said Haaland's overall play is that of a League Two player. I think this was off the back of his performance.
Did he double down?
He really doubled down. He really doubled down. He says Haaland is that of a League Two player. He says elite finisher, fair enough, blah blah blah. But his overall play is that of a League Two player. Now, let's take that in, people, and let's dissect that. I mean, Joe, when you hear that, I think it's an outrageous statement. Outrageous.
Well, I found it hard to... I can't remember which game it was. I think it was it might have been after the Arsenal game, where it was like, I don't agree, but it was hard to prove him wrong after that 90 minutes because he barely touched the ball. But in terms of overall, no, like, it's just wrong. There's so many levels above a League Two player. Like, you're talking about League Two level, for anyone who doesn't know the English Football League system, is the lowest down of the professional leagues. So we're bordering on semi-pro in terms of levels of football here. And that is the level that Roy Keane thinks Haaland is at in terms of his overall play. Now, I don't know about you, having watched him against Madrid, having watched him at times last season as well, his hold-up play is much more of a higher quality than a League Two player, than a just-turned professional player. It really is. I mean, like, I don't think people understand that he basically... I mean, if you haven't watched the documentary on Netflix, I'd recommend you go and watch it, but he's been man-marked, stamped on, kicked for 90 minutes on end. He's in a physical battle for 90 minutes. And that's what he has to put up with every game. Sometimes he has two players on him. Like, look at when Arsenal came and played a back six. He had 2-3 players on him for 90 minutes. Like, he commands a certain amount of respect. He clearly has some amount of play about him. Because otherwise you would just kind of leave him one-on-one and go, when he gets the ball, as long as he's not in the penalty area, we're all right. Like, he scored 2 goals this season, since the turn of the year, actually. Everton and Brentford. He's picked up the ball on the halfway line and just bulldozed through everyone, put it in the back of the net. Like, what, if he was a League Two player, he doesn't do that.
I think it's super disrespectful, like mega disrespectful, and I get the vibes he's very salty about the Haaland progression story, and so on and so forth. I mean, you can't. I mean, I said it before the game a couple of days ago that I think there is more Haaland could do off the ball. I think there is more he could do genuinely. But what he does do off the ball gets unnoticed. Like, I was looking at some videos of his physical battles with Tchouaméni. They were shoulder to shoulder, hanging out of each other type thing. You see, like, the goal Vardy scored. You see the goal Foden scored. They're both individually in isolation fantastic finishes, like unbelievable finishes, both of them. But if you look at the positioning of both the Real Madrid centre halves, they're both Rudiger and Tchouaméni, they're both so occupied with Erling Haaland. You can tell they're both shitting themselves that Foden or someone is going to play a reverse pass or a ball to Haaland's feet, and Haaland's going to be the goal scorer type thing. They're so occupied that Foden's getting space in the edge of the box. We saw Bernardo get space in the edge of the box. We saw Grealish cut in a few times and get quite a bit of room on the edge of the box. There was one where he probably should have scored. He didn't shoot quick enough. They're so occupied with Erling Haaland, and Haaland knows this, and it's probably frustrating for him because he's not getting the service he wants. But unfortunately, his presence alone, Roy, is actually a lot more of just a League Two player. It simply is his presence, and I find it to be very disrespectful to say he's that of a League Two player. I mean, we've seen it as well. Haaland have actually elite striker play. The one that comes to mind, should come to all your minds, is the 4-1 against Arsenal last season. Haaland was literally used solely for build-up play, create the space in between the midfield and the defence, win the first ball, lay it off to Kevin De Bruyne, and boom, Kev's gone, goal. Haaland has it in him. He's so congested these days. He's so focused on by defences this season that there isn't a huge amount he can do. I believe he should do more, but there's not actually, like, it's not as if he can do what Harry Kane does. He's not going to drop into midfield and spray passes around. He is, at the end of the day, just an out-and-out number 9, but he still takes up so much. He preoccupies defenders so much that we're seeing Foden's, De Bruyne's, Bernardo's, Grealish's, all them flourish off the back of Haaland just being a magnet for defenders. And as Tone in the chat says, he's irrelevant. If he's irrelevant, he'd still be managing, not doing punditry. Exactly. And if Haaland wasn't as good as he is, he wouldn't be playing for Manchester City. If Haaland could only finish, he would not be playing for Manchester City. Pep would not sign a player who can only finish. That's it. You have to have more to your game, whether it's hold-up play, whether it's link-up play, or whether it's what Haaland does and people don't like to acknowledge it, which is presence. Presence. It sounds stupid, but it's simple facts. Watch the game back. Watch his relationship with Rudiger and Tchouaméni, how occupied they are by him. Tchouaméni wasn't letting Haaland out of his sight, literally up his arse for most of the game. Wouldn't leave him out of his sight. And that gave our midfielder or our wingers, and Bernardo especially as well, a lot of room to manoeuvre, and it made us threatening going forward. So shut up, Roy Keane. As a fellow Irishman, like, I should love Roy Keane, but I just can't stand some of his comments about Haaland and about City and how critical he is, when you shouldn't be critical. You should be admiring the magnificent striker. Big up Piplup again, man, with the £2. He says people expect Haaland to be Aguero, only one Aguero. He was exactly. He was never going to be Aguero. He was never going to be any of the people we've had in the number 9 shirt before, the number 9 area of the pitch before. He was always going to be different. It was always going to alter our style of play, and there was always going to be different demands put on Erling Haaland than there was put on previous players. If you want to doubt Erling Haaland, do it at your own peril. Do it at your own peril, because it never ends well for anyone. Big up Piplup for the super chat, man. Have you anything to add to that, Joe?
Just that it's why I liked his performance against Real Madrid in the second half so much, because I remember the last stream we did before you went off to Madrid was all about how he looked disinterested and he was moping about and he looked frustrated. And our point was he needs to just let the game come to him. He's not going to get service. He's going to be stood on by 2 players at a time. Like, he's not going to get clear-cut chances in the big games like Madrid and Arsenal and all that. And the last thing he needs is to become frustrated and start throwing his arms about and becoming disinterested, not getting involved. And, you know, because that leads on, because if he does get a chance and he's still thinking about how frustrated he is, then he might miss it. And that's what I liked about the second half against Madrid. He put his frustrations to one side and he helped the team. He got engaged in a physical battle, holding up the ball, winning free kicks, layoffs to his teammates, occupying defenders. That's what we want to see. We want to see when the game's not coming to him, you know, when he's not getting the ball, he does something about it. He doesn't get frustrated. He goes and gets in a physical battle. He changes the game. He gets more involved. And that's why I like the game against Madrid, because it's something that recently he hasn't been doing. When he's not been getting the ball, he's become a non-factor. He's become an anomaly. He's just kind of there. Whereas against Madrid, I don't know whether it was said to him at half-time, because I don't think he was doing it much in the first half, but he came out in the second half and he got himself more involved. He got himself more involved than a League Two player when he got himself involved at the Bernabeu.
Did you? So basically, shut up, Roy Keane, you knobhead. Right, listen, we've been live now for nearly an hour and a half. It's been a really, really enjoyable show. You guys have absolutely supported us fantastically today. I might see, can I pull a few guests together? We've set up what we need to set up for getting guests on the show, maybe panel shows, whoever, over the next couple of days. Maybe this evening, if I can pull it together in short notice. If you guys want it, let me know. If there's any guests you want to see come on, always let me know in the comments. But listen, yeah, we're going to wrap it up. There's a link again in the chat if anybody wants to become a channel member. Your support is all massively, massively appreciated. Loads of content to come, more streams like this, more videos. We're going to bring watch-alongs to the channel very soon. Yeah, loads to look forward to. So all we ask is you hit the like button, you subscribe if you're new, and if you want to be a channel member, the link's to the chat now, and if you're watching on playback, it is top link in the description. But listen, until you got Hamza on, I've spoke to Hamza. I want to get Hamza on. I want to get LB on. I want to get Mull, Martin, MCFC lads, Amos from City Report, everybody. I want to get everybody on, all the ones that you guys know well, and more. Get some new faces on too. Invite some City fans on. If any of you want to come on and you've got decent camera and microphone, you're more than welcome to shoot me a message. My links to my socials are below my face here, and Joe as well. So feel free, if you want to join us for a stream or a chat, you're more than welcome to do so. Right, listen, fantastic stream. Listen, big up to each and every single one of you. Absolute legends. Your support, as always, like I say, it's so appreciated. And we'll either be back this evening with some guests. If not, definitely back tomorrow with some more content. Until then, enjoy the rest of your days, Blues. God bless. Wrap her up, Joy Boy.
Listen to your heart, tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand.